To say you can be vegan and still exploit animals is an oxymoron. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. You're either vegan or you're not. It's something we say all the time. In fact, we last said it in our recent response video to the channel Chris and You. There seems to be a bit of debate around this statement, and it's time we have an educated discussion that looks a lot deeper at what this means.
If you're a new vegan or you're looking into veganism, please don't let this discussion confuse you and turn you away. It's not as complicated as it's made out to be, and we're going to clear up a lot of the so-called grey areas for you. We're also going to explain things from a perspective you may have never considered before.
Now, we will say that it's a little ridiculous that we even have to make this video, because this discussion is really only happening within the vegan YouTube bubble. We'd be embarrassed to raise this with the vegans we know who don't spend their time watching YouTube. If we were to suggest to the vegan activists who risk their lives breaking into factory farms to take undercover footage that someone could be a flexible vegan, I think they'd either die laughing or implode.
But we're very aware that veganism is growing from social media, and so it's very important that people watching have the correct information, and we feel a responsibility to provide that. No, we're not claiming to be a vegan authority, but there comes a point when you need to stand up and speak logically and truthfully.
Before we get into it, this video is not a hate or attack video. We just want to clear up a lot of the mess that we're hearing and seeing.
The internationally recognized definition of veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose.
As you can see, veganism is not a diet, as it's not just about what you eat. The diet aspect is obviously the most important aspect because that is where the majority of animal exploitation happens. But it's not just about food.
If you don't eat any animal products at all, but for example you go out and buy leather, wool, fur, down or silk clothing, you go to the zoo, circus, rodeo or marine parks, or you buy products that have been tested on animals or contain animal ingredients, then you're not vegan. You're eating a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, but you can't call yourself vegan if you're still exploiting animals in these other ways.
That's why Professor Gary Francione says there is veganism and there is animal exploitation. There is no third choice. To say you can be vegan and still exploit animals is an oxymoron. It's no different to the term humane slaughter. The two concepts can't exist simultaneously.
Therefore, you're either vegan, not contributing to animal exploitation, or you're not, aka you are contributing to animal exploitation. And we know that there are a lot of people that think there are grey areas, but let us explain that there aren't really grey areas. The vast majority of this situation is very clearly black and white.
Vegans don't consciously go out and create demand for animal exploitation via their purchases of or participation in food, clothing, entertainment, etc. So if you go out and buy meat, dairy, eggs, bee products, or any other animal-derived food, that's not vegan. Let's look more into these supposed grey areas that people get caught up on.
If you go vegan today, but you continue to wear the leather shoes and animal-tested makeup that you bought a year ago, are you still vegan? Yes, you are, because those purchases were made before you went vegan, before you knew any better. The next time you decide to buy shoes, makeup, or anything else, that's when you buy the vegan versions. It's our purchases after we go vegan that matter. Are we creating demand for more animal exploitation, or are we creating demand for products that don't exploit animals? That is what counts.
We read a comment from someone left on another channel saying that they had recently gone vegan, but they had purchased their dream car just before going vegan. But it has leather seats. And were they not vegan because of their car? And are they now expected to sell that car as a vegan and replace it with a car that has non-leather seats? Again, the car with the leather seats was purchased before this person went vegan. And so the past action has nothing to do with their decision and purchases going forth as a vegan. Of course, they can keep the car and still be vegan.
Another grey area argument we hear. What about people who accidentally step on an ant or kill bugs when driving their car, or rodents were killed in the harvesting of the vegetables they eat? Are they still vegan? Yes, of course they are. There is no such thing as a perfect or 100% vegan, and that's where the definition is very clear, where possible and practicable.
For example, it's not possible to not kill ants while walking, but it is very possible to not buy meat, dairy, and eggs. One action is an unconscious accident, whereas the other is a conscious decision. Again, this isn't really a grey area. The life or death, desert island, ridiculous scenarios that vegans are often asked about, these are hypothetical situations that have nothing to do with the everyday reality of the majority of people living in the West with the luxury of watching YouTube. Again, not a grey area that we need to worry about.
What if I get sick and need to take medication that has been tested on animals or contains animal ingredients? Or what if I need to have an operation and that procedure has been tested on animals? Would I still be vegan? Yes, because the definition is to do what's possible and practicable. If you need to take medication or have an operation, that's okay. It's something that is out of your control and something that you need to save your life.
So once you think about it logically, rationally, and practically, you can see that being vegan is a pretty black and white issue. What we need to focus on is the 99.9% of actions that we can control in our everyday lives. What we eat, what we buy, and what we participate in. But getting caught up in the 0.1% issues like needing antibiotics for an ear infection or still wearing the old leather boots you have because you can't afford to replace them is not necessary.
What people tend to do is throw the baby out with the bathwater. I need antibiotics that have been tested on animals, so I might as well eat a steak. No, the two are not the same thing. And just because someone isn't vegan, that also doesn't mean that they have to eat a standard Western diet full of animal products. More on that coming. There is no perfect vegan because simply existing as humans on this planet, we are going to inevitably harm or kill animals in some way. But again, it's doing what is possible and practicable. It's not practicable for you to not kill any worms when mowing the grass, but it is 100% possible to not buy dairy, for example.
What is possible to control is the food we consciously put into our mouths. If you order something and you check that it's vegan and they say yes, it comes out, you start eating, and halfway through the meal you think, this really tastes like egg. You check again and sure enough, it has egg. So you return it. This is not your fault. This is a mistake and it has happened to all of us. Of course you're still vegan because you didn't consciously choose to purchase and consume that animal product. It was given to you by mistake.
This scenario is very different to someone consciously choosing to order a dish that they know has egg in it and therefore they know will create more demand for more eggs and thus result in more animal exploitation. There is a difference between a mistake that you can't control and a conscious decision that you make. And yes, it is our responsibility to check and do our best to ensure that the meal is vegan. Consciously choosing to eat meat, for example, with your family at a restaurant because it's convenient or whatever other reason, when it is possible to instead eat a vegan meal, is very different to being faced with a deserted island scenario, which of course won't happen. If you're a new vegan and you accidentally misread the label on a product that contains an animal ingredient, that's an accident. Don't worry about it. Learn from it and move on.
So hopefully by now you can see that considering the definition of veganism, what's possible and practicable, and also taking conscious decision making into account, it's very simple to either be vegan or not. You're either consciously choosing to exploit animals or you're not. Now, here's where it's getting really messy. In 2017, there's a very bizarre idea that people can call themselves vegan yet still participate in animal exploitation through food, clothing, and other means.
We want to be very clear here. We have always said that any steps taken towards the reduction of animal exploitation is obviously a good thing. Any steps should be encouraged. However, the ultimate aim should always be to be vegan, meaning to consciously choose not to participate in the exploitation of animals.
Just focusing on diet now. If you don't eat any kind of meat or flesh, but you do eat other animal products, that's vegetarian. If you don't eat meat, but do eat fish and other animal products, that's pescatarian. If you don't eat meat, fish, or eggs, but you do eat dairy, that's lacto-vegetarian. If you don't eat meat, fish, or dairy, but do eat eggs, that's ovo-vegetarian. If you don't eat any animal products, but you do wear animals or use them, then that's a vegan diet or a plant-based diet. However, if you don't eat any animal products, meat, fish, dairy, eggs, beef products, gelatin, etc., and you also don't use animals for clothing, entertainment, testing, etc., That is vegan.
Yes, these are labels. Yes, actions are the most important thing. If you don't like labels, then don't use them. But yes, words do matter. If you aren't vegan, but you've made some dietary changes and perhaps even lifestyle changes, then that's a great thing. Yes, you're moving in the right direction. Yes, everyone, including us, is encouraging that. Yes, you're saving some animals. Yes, you're helping the environment. Yes, you're getting healthier. Yes, you're doing more than you were before. And all these things are wonderful. And yes, doing something is better than doing nothing.
However, if you still eat, wear, or use animals when it's possible and practicable not to, no matter how infrequent you're doing it, you're still consciously participating in animal exploitation and therefore aren't vegan. If you go from eating 5 animals a week to 3 animals a week, then that's a great start. It's a great improvement. 3 is better than 5, and those 2 animals who are saved are very grateful. Now, most people want to just focus on the 2 animals saved in this scenario, but we want to focus on the 3 animals who are still slaughtered and will be replaced. Because until every cage is empty, for those left behind in the cages, the victims, it's not enough. So that's why it's important that everyone keeps moving forward with any steps of transition so we can empty all the cages.
Now, you can be working towards being vegan, moving towards being vegan, trying out a vegan diet, eating a mostly vegan or plant-based diet, intending to be vegan, wanting to be vegan, taking steps towards being vegan, transitioning to vegan, eating less meat, reducing meat, eating more plant foods. All of those things are fantastic steps to take, but they aren't the same as actually being vegan. And it's incorrect, misleading, and confusing to call yourself something that you're not. If you want to eat a mainly vegan diet but still eat cheese, then there's already a word for that. You're vegetarian.
Why do words matter, and who cares about these labels? We strongly encourage people to read the book or watch the film 1984 by George Orwell. This is where Big Brother comes from. Orwell creates a dystopia where history is rewritten and distorted and language is diluted. Each edition of the dictionary is reduced, and with the reduction of words, the authorities are literally reducing people's ability to think and express themselves, all with the intention of creating mindless, obedient slaves for the state. It's all about power and control. The truth is manipulated.
Although this is just a story, if we're honest with ourselves, we can see elements of Orwell's 1984 truly coming alive today. Just in our lifetime, we've seen what would normally have been a thought or opinion expressed in a sentence reduced to a hashtag. Words are reduced to shorthand or acronyms so that we can text faster. In fact, words are even replaced with emojis. The one power we have is to hold on to the truth and our thoughts. And to do this, we need to hold on to language. Say what we mean and not distort and dilute words. Because in doing so, we distort and dilute the truth, our thoughts, and ability to express ourselves.
In Orwell's 1984, he wrote, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength." Today, people are being told that you can still participate in animal exploitation through food, clothing, and other means, but still be vegan. This is Orwellian.
Diluting the meaning and message of veganism does not help to spread it. Instead, it weakens the meaning and purpose, and it loses its power. And this is exactly what the animal agriculture industry wants. They must be sitting back, rubbing their hands right now as they watch us dilute the very cause we're supposed to be fighting for. Diluting the meaning weakens the movement. It starts to become like the everything in moderation mentality. All of a sudden, everyone is vegan because they eat the occasional apple. In fact, if you can eat animal products and still be vegan, then that means we already live in a vegan world. That's ridiculous.
My parents were here visiting for the last 2 weeks. They ate vegan food 99% of the time, certainly all vegan when eating with us. Does that mean that my parents were vegan for 2 weeks? Of course not. They're the furthest thing from being vegan, but they did a great job at eating vegan food for that time. Watering down the meaning also makes people feel very comfortable with continuing to eat animal products. Why would they need to actually go vegan if they can still call themselves vegan but continue to eat animal products when it's convenient for them?
It reminds us of the humane meat labels. They're trying to make people feel comfortable about their bad habits. See, you can be humane and still eat meat. Well, telling people they can be vegan and still occasionally eat animal products is doing the same thing. The question is, why would someone want to be called vegan if they're not actually vegan?
The answer, we think, is because their conscience knows that exploiting animals is wrong. So they want a label that says, I'm doing the right thing and not exploiting animals. But at the same time, they still want to enjoy animal products when it's convenient. So they're caught between wanting to be seen as doing the right thing towards animals, whilst not always doing the right thing towards animals.
You can't just call yourself something you're not, and something isn't true just because you say so. Saying I'm a pilot doesn't make me a pilot. Flying in a plane as a passenger doesn't mean I fly the plane.
I can't say I'm an Olympic gymnast if I'm not. I'd be lying. I can say I want to be an Olympic gymnast, I train to be one, I take steps towards going to the Olympics, my intention is to be an Olympic gymnast, I'm trying to be an Olympic gymnast, but until I'm actually at the Olympics competing as a gymnast, I'm not an Olympic gymnast.
We've read comments from people saying, I'm vegan except on the weekend, I'm vegan but I eat honey, I'm vegan except for when I eat with my family or friends, I'm vegan except on special occasions, I'm vegan but I eat backyard eggs, I'm vegan before 6, I'm a lenient vegan, I'm a flexible vegan, I'm a part-time vegan. A part-time vegan. Veganism isn't like having a job, and it's not like the latest fashion accessory that makes you look cool for a short season, but then you dump it and move on to the next fad.
Any of these options are better than nothing, but they're not what veganism is. Veganism is a stance against violence and exploitation, and just like any other form of discrimination or exploitation, you are either for or against it. You can't be a part-time racist, sexist, homophobe, etc. And you can't be a part-time vegan.
This is not about creating an elite special club that segregates and excludes people. It's simply about being accurate, honest, and realistic. Lying to and deluding people is not the answer, and it's not going to create more vegans. There is no vegan club or vegan cult. Ironically, we are all born into the Carnist club, the Carnist cult, where we're taught that it's normal, natural, and necessary to eat, wear, and use animals. That's the club that we should want to leave. The focus should be on freeing ourselves from the violent Carnist cult we were born and indoctrinated into.
In all honesty, there's nothing to be proud about being vegan. You don't wear a badge of honour. You simply remove the badge of dishonour. So many vegans experience a period of deep shame and regret as they think about all the animals they ate and exploited over the years. We remember asking ourselves over and over, how did we do it? How did we not know? Why were we like that? And at that point you realise that being vegan is just the normal thing to do. Not killing animals unnecessarily doesn't deserve a pat on the back because it's the least we can do. It's the moral baseline. That's not an exclusive club, that's just normal behaviour which has been conditioned out of us.
There shouldn't even be a word to describe vegans. In every other act of violence or discrimination, the perpetrator is labelled. You don't say, I'm a non-murderer, I'm a non-rapist, I'm a non-racist, I'm non-sexist. No, we label the murderer, rapist, racist, sexist. But when it comes to violence and discrimination towards animals, those not participating in the violence and discrimination have to bear the label and the social stigma that comes with being vegan. As is so well put in the new mockumentary Carnage, which we'll be reviewing soon, we're not vegans, they're carnists.
So stop thinking that you need to get into the vegan club and shift that perspective to breaking away from the carnist club. Saying that someone isn't vegan if they're still exploiting animals isn't excluding anyone. It's simply being honest and accurate. Again, it would be like me saying the Olympic gymnasts are excluding me because I'm not an Olympic gymnast. But the reality is that the Olympic gymnasts are happy for you to join them, train with them, learn from them, share with them, etc. But you still can't call yourself an Olympic gymnast if you're not. And just saying you are doesn't make you one.
And telling people the truth about animal exploitation and making them aware that if they are eating, wearing, or using animals, they're contributing to this exploitation is not having a high standard, judging them, belittling them, or bullying them. It's simply telling the truth and holding them accountable for their actions. And it's not a high standard to actually be vegan and expect others to also choose not to exploit animals and destroy the environment either. It's just the morally right thing to do.
We've already touched on Carnism, and the other dominant belief system of human culture is Speciesism, where humans believe that we are superior to other animals and that some animals, like dogs and dolphins, are superior to other animals like chickens and pigs, for example. We are all raised wearing both carnist and speciesist glasses. These are our filters through which we see the world. When you go vegan, you remove the carnist glasses and see everything differently, but you don't automatically remove the speciesist glasses. Once you do remove the speciesist glasses, you see everything differently yet again.
Here's an example of a message we were recently sent on Snapchat. I watched the documentary Speciesism the movie, and it was amazing. I was always hesitant to compare animal suffering to the suffering of the Holocaust, being that it is such a sensitive subject. I now realise that it is incomparable, being that animal suffering is far worse. What we see today on social media are many speciesist vegans who will defend carnists, the perpetrators of violence and exploitation, instead of defending the actual victims, the animals, and will also criticise non-speciesist vegans for holding carnists who already know the truth accountable for their actions.
More disturbing than this, however, is, as we've already touched on, a movement of non-vegans and speciesist vegans attempting to change the definition of veganism in order to water it down and permit more exploitation of animals than the current definition allows for, often claiming that doing so would evolve veganism and make it more progressive. Surely any person of sound logic and the animals would agree that any change to the definition of veganism to water it down and permit more exploitation of animals than the current definition allows for would be regressive, not progressive, and would devolve veganism, not evolve it.
However, what we think would progress and evolve veganism would be to expand the current definition to include the rejection of speciesism, which is precisely what Evolve Campaigns has done on their website. Veganism is the rejection of speciesism and human supremacy in mind, heart, and action. No doubt the animals would be in favour of such a change to the definition, and if you're honest with yourself, so would you if you were the victim.
When people call themselves flexible or lenient vegan and still eat animal products, it's the speciesist mentality that my desires are more important than an animal's life that drives that action to consume animal products. Likewise, it's the speciesist mentality that drives people to think that you can be vegan and still eat honey. A non-speciesist vegan sees bees and honey in the same way as cows and milk.
On a very practical level, when people call themselves vegan when they're still eating animal products, it causes a lot of confusion, which can make eating out for actual vegans even more challenging. For example, you might order a vegan meal, but it comes out with honey or egg in it. You tell the waiter that you asked for a vegan meal and they say, but I know vegans who eat honey, or I know vegans who also eat backyard eggs.
To sum up, saying you're vegan when you're not is insulting to people who are actually vegan. Because yes, it can be very challenging at times, and hearing people casually say, I'm a part-time vegan, is like a giant slap in the face to all the effort vegans go to and the shit we have to put up with in this mainly non-vegan world. It's also insulting to the activists who risk their lives to provide undercover footage that we can all use to spread the message and raise awareness.
And most importantly, it's insulting to the animals. This isn't a game, it's not a joke. We're talking about real lives. We're talking about the most horrendous, despicable, unspeakable acts of cruelty and violence towards innocent babies. We know veganism is often portrayed in a very fun, light-hearted, healthy, joyful way on social media, but there is a very dark and serious side to it, and it's important to remember that this is not about us, it's about them. This is not a fad, a diet, or an accessory. We urge people to stop the delusion and use language accurately.
Again, any changes and improvements someone has made to their diet is fantastic, encouraged, and supported. But just eating less animal products doesn't make you vegan. We know that it's more popular to just say everyone can call themselves vegan and don't worry about words and labels and call yourself whatever you want, you decide what is vegan. But we're not here to be popular. We're here to speak the truth, we're here to be accurate, and we're here to remind people that 150 billion animals slaughtered every year for food alone are who we need to keep remembering and stay focused on.
We trust now at the end of this video you understand why you're either vegan or you're not.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave your comments down below and share this video to help us raise awareness.
Give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Remember to ding the bell and check that box so you're notified for our upcoming videos.
And remember until next time that going vegan, which has a clear definition, is not the most we can do.
It's the least we can do. See you next video.
Bye guys. Promoting a study essentially saying that cheese may make you slimmer. No doubt there are going to be people who are going to want to rub this study in vegans' faces. So let's debunk this study together, shall we? First, let's go straight to the